Today has been a lot. We were watching the Donna Adelson jury selection, and I usually don't watch those, but we did today because it was supposed to start and go into the statements, opening statements. Did not happen. That is starting first thing tomorrow morning. We will be here for it for every single day of the trial. Actually, we'll be here for it. Before I jump into all about Donna, I want to say we had a very interesting day happen the other day. I don't know if you saw my live about Ali Abulaban. He is the TikToker who ended up murdering his wife and a friend, and obviously horrible. But he's been posting things from prison, obviously someone doing it on his behalf. And they did, and we were going through all of the different audio for it. And that person, whoever it is, whether that's the girl that's talking to him or a family member, whoever it is, got in my live chat. And I was shocked. And then I saw that they had a check mark by their name. I'm like, all right, it's really his account. So we maybe can get an interview from the person that's controlling that account. I'm working on it. I said it at the time when I noticed that they were in. So we'll see what happens. Oh, yes, Mend. I just did the TikTok one. We're going to go ahead. I just want to talk about Donna Adelson because we've been curious to know who is going to be getting called to do testimony. And I'm going to read you some of it. Obviously, this isn't set in stone. We don't know exactly who they will be calling, both the state and the defense. But these people sound like for sure. So we know that Charlie, her son, may be getting called by the state. Not a surprise to me. But the one that I thought was Wendy. They were trying to get Wendy to be able to be called for Donna's behalf, and she doesn't have to. There was a whole order on it the other day, so she may not for her mom, but technically the state can and might still call her. Her oldest son, Rob, he is a doctor in New York. He sounds like he's going to be taking the stand, and he didn't for Charlie's. So it's going to be very interesting having him go up there against his mom. But after Dan Markel was murdered, he really noticed like odd behaviors, some things seemed off, and he had decided that he thought his family had something to do with it. That was well before they were ever arrested. And he basically like cut ties and removed himself away from all of this. Good for him. And he had his deposition read. So, I mean, it's looking like he will be taking the stand. And I hope so. It'd be interesting to see what happened and what made him decide, this is too much. I'm going to get away from these people. Couple other people. There's a girl named Sarah. She was friends with Wendy Adelson right after Dan Markel was murdered. The comments that the family was making, Wendy and Donna, they kept making these comments like, oh, look at all these people who loved him, but really he was just a jerk. That is quote. And she said that just seemed very odd considering that that is the dad of Wendy's kids, and she's making comments, and Donna being the same way. You would think that there's something missing, and they're sad for it. But this friend said there was nothing. Be interesting. Let's see. Yeah, leading up to this, Donna's been trying so hard to not have to go to trial for this, and she lost at every turn. So it'll be very interesting. I do not think the dad will be testifying at all. I'm shocked that he's never been arrested. Supposedly he doesn't know anything. But with how many people in the family may have known, it's just odd that he didn't know. And also Donna trying to flee the country. go to Vietnam, one-way ticket to Vietnam, and they can't extradite her back. So you would think the husband would know more, but maybe not. All right, now that I got that out of the way, let me tee up. Let me find it. I have so many windows open. Oh yeah, we're gonna tee up Bryan Kohberger. So Bryan Kohberger has not even been in this new prison very long. I'm gonna move myself to the corner so we can start watching it. But he hasn't even been in this prison very long, and he already is writing complaints about everything. Evidently, he read the whole prison, I don't even know what you want to call it, guidelines and rules or whatever, but writing saying that they're not living up to any of the things that they talk about. And he's a piece of work. But we're going to go ahead and watch, and then we'll discuss more.
We all have that person in our lives who never stops complaining. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too salty, I'm bored. And as it turns out, in Idaho's maximum security institution, that person who complains all the time is inmate number 163214. That's him, better known as Bryan Kohberger.
Is everybody hearing that? Because I'm not.
The other night, I shared prison reports about Kohberger and how he was having a tough time in lockup. Fellow inmates were keeping him awake night and day, he said, taunting him and threatening him, making all sorts of noise. Well, tonight we've got the paperwork to prove it and a few other things he says those fellow inmates are doing to him, things that have him afraid for his life and possibly his virginity. No joke. These are the actual handwritten complaint forms that Bryan Kohberger has written and submitted to the prison officials at the maximum security institution in Idaho. And get a load of his handwriting. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. We have his full list of complaints, even specific inmates that he's complaining about and naming names. Side note, those guys are not going to get any nicer now. And as a bonus, everything is written in his own handwriting. And I'm going to tell you why that's key. We've got the top world analyst in handwriting in just a moment. He knows so much about handwriting and what it tells us, and he's got fascinating insights into what he sees on these pages. But first, what do you suppose is eating Bryan Kohberger? Where do we even start? Well, from the complaint form, Wednesday, July 30th, just 6 days after he arrived at the penitentiary, he already had problems. Quote, as I continue the SPI phase, that means segregation pending investigation phase, I wish to discuss if I may be transferred to another AD seg setting, that means segregated setting, such as B block. Not engaging in any of the recent flooding and striking, as well as being subject to minute-by-minute verbal threats, harassment. On that and other bases, Unit 2 of J Block is an environment that I wish to transfer from. If possible, I request transfer to B Block immediately. I wish to speak with you soon.
I mean, does anybody give a crap what he cares about and what he wants to do? You don't just get to pick and choose whatever you want. You're in prison now, and that is that.
That's very special. Kohberger wants a little more comfort at the lockup where he's condemned to spend the rest of his miserable life. He even has his own recommendations about where he believes he should be moved. Isn't that nice? There was a prison captain who did reply to the quadruple murderer in writing just 2 days later, very, very politely and very professionally, I might add, saying, quote, Mr. Kohberger, on any tier at the IMSI, that is the Idaho Maximum Security Institution, there are sometimes disruptions to operations, such as residents flooding. On J2, that's where Kohberger is, it is a relatively rare occurrence. And J2 is generally a fairly calm and quieter tier. I do not think that B block would be any better for you. Give it some time. In short, F off, Kohberger, deal with it and get used to it. You're not moving anywhere. By the way, all those things Kohberger has been complaining about, apparently he's very worried about what some of the inmates have said they're going to do to him, physically and sexually. I want to get to News Nation's Bryan Enton here because Bryan Enton got his hands on the actual handwritten complaints. Before I ask you to go into the specifics, just comment on the writing, because I thought I was looking at a fourth grader and I had to try to decipher what I was seeing on these handwritten forms.
Yeah, I was surprised how bad, well, I don't know, maybe surprised, not the right word. I wasn't expecting his handwriting to be so bad. He has really bad handwriting. And it was also just creepy reading these because he wrote them. I guess when I knew these were coming, I was expecting they were going to be typed out. I don't know why. And then when I got them and saw that it was his handwriting and he actually signed the bottom, I don't know why, it just kind of like bothered me in a way. But remember, actually, I toured this prison, by the way, last month. I walked through the whole thing, spent 2 hours in the prison. Yes, the inmates yell and scream and bang on the walls, and the flooding of the cells, it happens. They told me about that. They get bored and they flood their cells. They flood the sinks and the toilets. Sometimes they have to shut the water off. So it's no surprise. This is what life is going to be like at the maximum security prison. Let me read you another one of these grievances, though. This is another form that Bryan Kohberger filled out that has to do with the food, Ashley. Kohberger writes, I have on several occasions not received all items of food on my tray. I addressed this during service and have yet to receive any replacements. In fact, the kitchen is not even called. He thinks they're going to call the kitchen for him. The policy book confirms items missing, which are pointed out at the time of service, will be replaced. I wish to, without exception, receive these replacements. And under the heading, I've tried to solve this problem informally by, then he fills that part out. Kohberger wrote, addressing the issue with staff at the time of service. Then there's a part that says, I suggest the following solution for the problem. And he wrote, I wish for the items to be called for and items replaced when this occurs. The nutritional standard is not being upheld unless I've received my full tray. So he doesn't feel like he is getting the food that he requires. And by the way, they eat their meals. He's in solitary confinement, by the way, obviously. They eat their meals in the cell. They go through the door. And he says he's not getting the food that he deserves, apparently, Ashley.
I had a chance to have a chit-chat with Steve Gonsalves earlier today about this, Bryan Enton, and as you can imagine, he and the family are enjoying the fact that Bryan Kohberger is uncomfortable. Their daughter, Kaylee, will never be able to eat anything or hear anybody yell ever again. So this is no love lost there, as you can imagine. All right, now address these personal threats, these very, very specific personal threats, and I'm just going to give a warning, not safe for work, some of the stuff we're about to talk about.
Yeah, this is the sexual harassment complaints that he has. Let me read you this one. On August 3rd, 2025, and I want to read you the whole thing so you can really understand it. On August 3rd, 2025, resident Kohberger submitted a concern from staffing. He has been subject to threats and harassment, recently escalating to overt sexually violent threat statements. Lieutenant Millant received the concern form on August 4th, 2025, and conducted an interview with Kohberger in J Block. Kohberger stated a resident that goes by Peru told him, and I'm not going to say what it says here, BF you, basically sodomize you. Kohberger also stated an unknown resident from Tier 1 of J Block said the only A**, which you can make out what that means, will be eating is Kohberger's. Kohberger stated that Officer Signoria was present for the comment made by Peru. Due to Officer Signoria being on B nights, an interview could not be conducted to attempt to corroborate the allegation. On August 7th, 2025, Officer Signoria submitted an information report outlining his involvement of the alleged incident. Officer Signoria recalls vulgar language being used and directed toward Kohberger, but could not identify who said what. The allegation is substantiated, but due to no aggressor being able to be positively identified and Kohberger saying he feels safe to remain on Tier 2 in J Block, no further actions were taken, which, I mean, it's kind of like the officer knows what happened, but, I mean, come on, this is prison. This isn't jail anymore. You're in the maximum security prison in Idaho with the worst of the worst in the state. You killed 4 innocent kids. And by the way, he's in this cell by himself. So these are just things that he's hearing, whether it be through the vents or when he gets walked outside for 1 hour a day. But he has no contact with other prisoners, so it's pretty clear there's no physical threat here.
Yeah, well, I think anybody who knows even the least thing about prison is that you keep your head down and you don't start naming names like Peru, this other prisoner who he has named specifically. And, you know, guards, naming guards, that's not going to endear you to anybody either. So there you go. Only a couple weeks in prison and it's not going too well. Bryan Enton, great work getting those documents. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I completely agree. You are already going to kick up dirt by the fact that you're naming names, whether it's the actual guards or even the inmates. It's just a bad idea. And he's going to learn very quickly that it's a bad idea and why. But yeah, I don't feel bad for him at all. And at least the families who wanted to move forward and try to get a death penalty and didn't want to take the deal, I do think this is solace. I'm sure it's helpful for them because they felt completely devastated by the fact that they didn't get to have what they consider full justice. So at least he is being tormented here, and that kind of makes it a little bit better for them, I would imagine. So, all right. I will be keeping you updated with so many things. We are still doing our Jennifer Soto case and hunting for her. I've reached out to some people. We'll see if I get a response. We're looking, though, because I want her to be held accountable if she truly is, and I think she is. Just my personal opinion, but either way, I would like to see more movement on that. And then, as I said in the beginning of the video, I'm hoping to maybe get a Ali Abulaban type questioning, not necessarily from him, but other people that may have known him. I would love to talk to the girl who's running his social media accounts right now. That would be great. But yeah, I'll keep you updated and hopefully we'll get some responses on some of these things soon. So, all right, I will be back on here bright and early tomorrow for Donna Adelson's first day of the trial. Thank you for watching.